This is me, Ifeoma, and I have a great topic that I'm sharing with you today. It's all about going through depression and what it really is. If you're a healer, there's a high chance that you're not really going through a depression, you're going through a spiritual awakening, and it presents itself as depression. And as a registered nurse and a psychiatric registered nurse dealing with patients for over 5 years, and you know what I noticed, a lot of my patients that I've taken care of that have gone through are being treated for a medical issue. They all, not all, but a lot of them were being treated for mental health like depression. And what I feel, my beliefs and my experience working as a medical professional, person who works closely with doctors and administer their orders and educate patients on the signs and symptoms of the medications that they're going to be discharged with. What I realized is if you do not address your emotional issues, if you do not address the emotional cords that are going on in your life, you will eventually feel so drained and feel like your energy is at a low level that people who aren't spiritually aware will think that is depression. And I've been diagnosed with depression at an early age because I've always had spiritual gifts, right? I've always had spiritual gifts, but it wasn't developed. You know, we live in a society that if you're psychic or you have intuitive gifts, that it's weird. And so we train our children to like not embrace that so they can be like the herd, the mass society. And when you don't feel like you fit in, you reject yourself, and that's very similar to feeling depressed. So when you do not embrace who you are, you feel like something's wrong with you. These are all negative thoughts. Ruminating is when you're on this cycle of sad thoughts. Your spirit will be low and you will present yourself as a depressed person. I'm really passionate, and I get teary about this. I'm really passionate about talking about mental health and how we're really backwards in our society when it comes to treating people with health issues. And I feel as a person who's really dedicated my life towards people who are going through emotional pain. And when I say dedicated my life, I'm still a young person. But before I became a nurse, you know, I spent a lot of my time serving as a crisis counselor for people who've gone through sexual assault. And I never understood why. I was always attracted to supporting people who are going through a really dark time. And I'll be able to do this job and wake up in the morning and feel like I was making a difference. However, I wasn't content because, you know, I had a boss who was a special, and the money I was making, it wasn't enough for me to live the life that I wanted to. You know, I had an apartment in an area that wasn't the best area. You know, I wanted to travel, I wanted to meet friends, and I didn't want to make up excuses for why I couldn't hang out with them. And I had a family full of nurses, and I started my courses to become a nurse. And anytime I start something, I need to finish it. So I went back to school. After having a master's in public administration, I went back to school to get my 3rd degree in nursing, being a bachelor's in nursing. And when I became a registered nurse, I went through the worst first year as a nurse. I was so unhappy because what I realized as a spiritual healer, and I didn't understand what I was, and that's what it was so painful. Because I felt so tired all the time, and I didn't get it because my coworkers would be able to be fine. What I didn't understand was that I have psychic gifts, and it's been confirmed by several psychics that at the time they were telling me you just need to develop it. You have your energy level is really high, and they gave me so much confirmation of why I was having issues with my personal relationships. I did not enjoy working in a hospital setting because as a highly sensitive person, as an empathic person, you're around people who are suffering all the time. And if you do not understand how to set boundaries with those individuals, you will be drained. So can you imagine making a living helping people heal themselves, but you're always giving because you don't know the tools. You don't have the tools yet to like have a healthy buffer, so you're not taking on other people's pain. You're dealing with people who've been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, people with HIV, people with TB, all these and financial issues compounded with their health issues. And then also, I am a Black woman. I'm Nigerian descent, and I encountered being the only Black person on my unit. And so not only feeling sad about not understanding like why I wasn't happy in this career, because nursing only address the physical aspects of health. Health is a holistic. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's mental, and it's physical. But as nurses, we are forced to follow this patriarchal model by a Western society, traditionally European based, where the body is separated, where we only address the physical side. So if the body's presenting symptoms, we're just going to treat the symptoms. We're not going to get to the core issue of why these patients keep on coming back to the hospital over and over, or why they have this disease that could have been easily managed and wouldn't have exacerbated if they took certain interventions. The hospital is not interested. The doctors are not interested in that, because that's not what they're getting paid for. We don't make money with preventative medicine. We make money from patients being really sick. So I got fed up because I didn't fit in. And when I realized it's because of my intuitive gifts and me being a spiritual healer, that was the reason why I didn't connect with my coworkers. That was the reason why I never was happy working at just one hospital. I got into travel nursing because I thought that would be the best of both worlds. I'd make more money and I wouldn't be stuck with one hospital. But I got sick of always being a new person, learning their own charting system. And as soon as I get the hang of it, it's time to start a new contract. I got really tired of that. And at the end of the day, I've known from early on, I've always wanted to own my own business, but I just didn't have anyone to teach me, and it was very frustrating knowing that you're capable. To be a registered nurse, I'm a smart woman. I'm a smart cookie. And I feel like my strengths are not recognized in the hospital. And so when you have strengths, they're not valued in your workplace. It does make you feel a certain type of way. The reason why I'm sharing my story with you is I'm tired of seeing people in the news losing their life because they feel unappreciated, because they feel alone. And you're not alone. But when you feel sadness and you feel disconnected, when you don't feel like yourself, you're going through a spiritual awakening. Because to be a healer, we do have to have a certain amount of experience, to have the amount of container to be present for people who are going through deep things. If you have not been seasoned by life, you will not be an effective healer. So that is why I'm sharing my story, and I'll share more of it over time as well, because I've gone through a lot in my life, and people meeting me first face to face, and they see my sunny smile, my disposition, blah, blah, blah. They think I have a certain lifestyle, but I've gone through some things. But it's because I'm a spiritual healer. I'm a resilient person, and so are you. So this is just my call to you. If you feel like you're going through some things, you feel alone, you've been diagnosed with depression, you've taken the medication, you've done the therapy, and you still have no improvement, it's not because there's something wrong with you. Is that this is a time that you need to understand that your spirit is open. Spirit is talking to you. Spirit, God, and the universe and his archangels are telling you that you're ready to walk into being a healer. And it's really painful because we go through so many setbacks as healers, and we attract so many narcissistic personalities that take. And because we're undeveloped as healers, we don't know how to appropriately put boundaries around those individuals. But I'm glad that I went through like the most painful 4 years, because now I have that experience. I didn't have anyone when I was starting my nursing career to tell me that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't the only one feeling like this. I suffered my first 2 years of nursing. Okay, I really suffered. And it's because no one talks about these things. No one talks about being the only Black nurse on your unit. No one talks about being a highly sensitive nurse and having psychic gifts, and also having the aspiration to own your own business, but you don't know how to, because you've been trained to follow orders. You've been trained to not make any errors, because if you make an error, a patient's life might be compromised. But when you start a business, you have to experiment. You have to try things, and that's so opposite of how a nurse's mind works. So that is the struggle that nurses and women who work in their careers and they're very successful go through as they transition to embrace their life's calling. Your life's calling is to help restore people. There's so much sadness going on in the world, and it's unfortunate. And I feel like how I can make my difference, my little change in the world, is just speaking to people that are just like me. People who are highly sensitive, emotionally intelligent, empathic people. People who have been given signs from an early age that there's psychic aspects of them that they can potentially develop to be really strong, but they just don't know how, or their family has made them feel like there's something wrong with them. So you kind of turn that side of you off, you close that side of you off, and because you're denying part of yourself, other parts of your life is suffering. When we address the emotional chords in our life, we will seek happiness, we will have peace. And when I say emotional cords, if you can imagine having this string connected to you to another person that you've had a negative experience with, either they've hurt you, they've done something very traumatic, you have an emotional cord with them. So the more emotional cords you are connected to people or things or events, drains you of your energy, and that's where the sadness comes from. And then as healers, we give so much to other people that it's time for us to give back to ourselves. It's very hard for us, because we're so easy for us to understand where the other person's coming from, that we almost get enmeshed in their emotions, and then you don't know how to decide if you're feeling sad because you're really sad, or you're sad because that person is sad, right? Because you felt great earlier before they started talking with you, and now that the conversation is over, they're feeling better, but you feel sad and drained. So you get confused. So some people might call you moody or bipolar with your emotions, but you're not bipolar. It's because you're a healer and you don't know how to buffer the energy. And that's what I went through the first 2 years that I was going through my awakening process. I was just going all this up and down, and I was reading and reading, and the more books that I read, I got more information. And now I'm at a place where I can proudly say that I'm a medical intuitive. And part of my life purpose is to restore people and help people release the emotional pain that they've collected over time, over life. I help you break down those emotional barriers and disconnect those emotional cords, so you can finally have the peace, so you can finally have that confidence back again, so you can face the dream to be a spiritual healer. You can't be a spiritual healer if you do not go through a spiritual awakening, meaning the setbacks and the negative events that you think is harming your life. And with that said, if you've resonated with what I shared with you so far, I would like to really help you heal your emotional cords, to cut those emotions that aren't serving your life any longer. And I have a link in the description of this video thread, and you can book yourself a session with me. It's a medical intuitive reading where I'll help you really get to the core of what's going on in your life. Why do you feel stuck? And I'll help you understand your life purpose, so you have better direction on if you're on the right track with your career. It's your time, sis, to pour into you. You give so much to other people, but you need to take care of yourself. So this is my way of serving you. This book, A Medical Intuitive Reading, if you have any questions, you can also post it in the comment section. And I'll also provide my email address after this video is uploaded. So I really hope that you learned from this training, and you like and subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when I have more videos. Okay, so again, you're not alone. As light workers, as empathic, intuitive people, as soulful Black women, this is a process, and once you understand why you're going through it, it makes things a little bit easier. Okay? Take care of yourself.